you want at any point.
Whether you have been with this congregation a decade or more, or if this is your first time visiting, we welcome you. Whatever the faith and traditions of your past, we welcome you. Whatever your theological stance, we welcome you. Whoever you are and whoever you love, we welcome you. Whatever your heritage, we welcome you. We respectfully acknowledge the territory in which our church building sits as the ancestral homelands of the Munsee, Lenape, and Wappinger people. I have a couple of announcements for this morning. Thanks to everyone who has ordered grocery cards. We now have Acme cards as well as ShopRite and Stop and Shop cards. They are available in $100 denominations, and the congregation makes $5 on each card. So please, if you haven't yet participated, see Terry Lucan after the service. Terry, are you in the room? Raise your hand. I think she might be in the kitchen still setting up. But see Terry after the service and help us raise funds while making grocery shopping easier. The cards will be available and are paid for by check to the UCHV. This is the last Sunday. And the second announcement is that our weekly game day has been Thursday, 10 to 2, but few people have participated, some due to schedule conflicts. Therefore, game day will now be on Mondays from 1 to 4 here in our fellowship hall. Pat Krugman is the organizer. Pat, raise your hand. So if you have any questions, talk to her. Participants are invited to play board games, canasta, mahjong, bring your friends, and or a couple of decks of cards. And for the most up-to-date information on these topics and others, please refer to our weekly e-newsletter and check our website frequently. And please join us for conversation after the service. If you are present in the sanctuary, please join us for coffee and refreshments and conversation in the fellowship hall in the other room. If you're watching on the live stream, the link for our Zoom coffee hour can be found in the Saturday reminder email. If you're recently, if you've just recently joined us and would like to receive our weekly e-news, please email us at uucroton@gmail.com with your name, and we will make sure you're added to our e-news list. sanctuary, please remember to silence your cell phones. Once again, we welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley.
Our guest minister this Sunday is Reverend Michael Tino. Welcome, Reverend. Reverend Tino is 1/3 of the lead ministry team at the Church of the Larger Fellowship, our UU congregation without borders or walls. CLF's membership includes some 1,800 incarcerated Unitarian Universalists. For 15 years, Michael served as the minister of our sibling congregation in Mount Kisco, New York. They live in Peekskill with their husband and daughter.
Thank you. It's good to be with you, beloved. As we gather in worship today, we summon the presence of our ancestors into this space. Our ancestors, physical and spiritual, whose courage in living guides us today. 85 years ago, as fascism spread across Europe, our spiritual ancestors risked their lives to set up networks, to save people, to rescue those who were fleeing, whose lives were in danger. The flaming chalice that we light every Sunday in our worship was the symbol that they developed to let people know that there were safe places for them amidst the danger sweeping across Europe. That flaming chalice that we light proclaimed their values to the world. As we invite our children to ring our bell and we prepare to light our chalice, may we summon the courage of our ancestors to proclaim our values to this world and to make ourselves a sanctuary for all of those who are in danger.
Today's chalice lighting words are from Jane Ellen Malden. So often words fail us, and we do not know to whom or what to pray. We ask for legs that can walk for peace, arms that can work for justice, voices that can speak with love, hands that can soothe a feverish brow. By our actions and voices, may our prayers be sent. Shalom, salam, om. Now please join me in saying our unison affirmation. The words are in your order of service. Inspired by love, our mission is to seek our true nature, connect deeply and openly, and act for justice. Where are we at? We're singing the Kids Act. Yes. come together in community to share with one another, to support one another, and to celebrate with one another. We bear sacred witness to each other in this honored ritual. As we begin, we know that there are both great sorrows and great joys in our world that must be acknowledged as well. We light our first candle to honor those in pain, victims of violence and war and oppression all around the world. We light a second candle because we understand that amidst all that pain, there is also celebration and joy in our world. We honor that joy and sorrow are woven together. For some of us here today, this has been a week of life-changing joy that needs to be lifted up in this worship. For others, this has been a time of deep pain and sorrow that needs to be shared to make the burden lighter. If this has been such a time for you, I invite you forward to light a candle and to briefly tell us of your joy or sorrow. You may also raise your hand in silent acknowledgement of your joys or sorrow, and I will light a candle for you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kevin Green. At a minimum, an ethnic Jew who's 55 years old, I've been really intentional about what I'm seeing and letting into my world, and because I can very easily go to a very dark place. So I'm going to share two joys with everybody today. One of which is my son and I had a really wonderful breakthrough experience as we navigate. He's 17 years old tomorrow. He had a really nice birthday party yesterday, and he and I are very much alike, and we butt heads, we yell at each other a lot, and I have a therapist that works with him, but also works with me to help me figure out how to change how I react to him. And we just had an experience where I was cleaning the kitchen, he was making himself pasta for dinner, and everything was going well, and he was getting frustrated that the water wasn't boiling quickly enough. And it opened a door to me talking to him about, I worked in restaurants, I have a big pot for pasta that has a thing you can take out, and I said, if you're making pasta for yourself, you could do what my mom did, which is take this little pot with a lot less water, do that, and then pour it into a colander. And then I started to explain to him, because he likes his food very salty. And first time I was able to use my cooking experience to share with him, and I said, Italians say you should cook your pasta in water that's as salty as the ocean. And he looked at me, his eyes lit up, and he said, I can just pour it in? And I said, go ahead. And he poured a whole bunch of salt. And I just felt that we had now gotten to a point in our relationship finally where I can teach him these things that I know. And we were talking and interacting, no yelling, just laughing, and it was wonderful. So I hope that isn't too long, but I'm going to share one more, which is I am, amongst all this wonderful stained glass work here, I am making my third stained glass project. I just finished the point where I've cut all the glass pieces and put them all together and polished them all the sides, and now I have to just wrap them each in, not just, but anyway, wrap everything in foil, copper foil, and then clean it, put copper foil, and I'll solder everything together. It's a big panel of about 6 or 7 birds, and they're sitting on a wire kind of, and the back of it is clear glass, and my plan is to finish it and bring it with me to California over Christmas, and I want my mother-in-law to put it in front of her window where she washes her dishes. My wife helped me pick the glass out because her mother needs to be able to see, but the birds will make her very happy. So, and I also will add that one of the things that I'm really finding is, for example, if I'm spiraling mentally, I go over to my glass, I pick up a piece of glass, I take 10 minutes, you have to center the glass on the foil, and you have to wrap it, and quote my instructor, and make hospital corners around the sides. And I find that the intense concentration on that, even for just 5 or 10 minutes, will change my thought process, and I can then go out and start again without spiraling. So thank you, everyone, for listening.
Hi, I'm Susie Dugas, and last week I announced that Megan and I were going to the New York Library Association conference, and we had a wonderful time. We both learned a lot and enjoyed ourselves, and I'm kind of revived and have more energy now for work.
I have a joy. It's more of a little excitement and a tiny bit of a plug. I have the chance to sing my own songs for an audience at the Westchester Collaborative Theater this Saturday at 7:30. WCtheater.org for tickets. And I'm just really happy to share. It's going to be some goofy novelty songs, some heartfelt songs, and songs from the heart. So hope you're free. Thank you.
We light one final candle for all those joys and sorrows that remain unexpressed. And for those outside of our walls who are searching for a place to bring the wholeness of their lives and to be received with love.
And invite us today into our bodies. We might not want to be in our bodies. We might want to be in our heads, in our dreams. But my colleague Dante Hilliard said to me this week, he said, we can't participate in resistance until we understand our embodied reality. So we invite us into our bodies. We invite you to feel the weight of your bodies on the seat. If you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes, but you don't have to. I'm going to invite you to breathe in a way that centers you in your body. I will be breathing in to the count of 4 and holding it for 4 and then breathing out for 4. But if that doesn't work for you, I invite you to breathe in a way that centers you in your body. So inhale at the count of 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold that breath. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. And hold it. 2, 3, 4. Let's do that again. Inhale. Hold it. Exhale. And hold it. As you continue to breathe in whatever way centers you in your body, I want you to feel your body. Maybe you brought pain into this room, physical pain that is stopping you. I know that lots of us have brought pain into this room. We are allowed to feel that pain. Maybe you've brought tension into this room. Feel where your body is holding that tension. Be gentle with that place. Maybe what is living in your body is grief, or sadness, or despair. Feel how your body is holding that. And breathe into that space. Give it oxygen so that you might release that grief, that sadness, and that despair. Maybe you've brought joy into this room. It is so wonderful that people have shared joys with us this morning. Feel that joy. Feel how it affects you and hold on to it. Know that you can bring that feeling back with just a breath. Maybe you've brought loneliness into this room. As we breathe together, know that you are not alone. In this community, you are held in love. Thank you for spending this time in your body with me.
Our reading today is from June Jordan, Poem for South African Women. Our own shadows disappear as the feet of thousands by the tens of thousands pound the fallow land into new dust that, rising like a marvelous pollen, will be fertile, even as the first woman whispering imagination to the trees around her made for righteous fruit from such deliberate defense of life, as no other still will claim inferior to any other safety in the world. The whispers, too, they intimate to the inmost ear of every spirit, now aroused, they carousing in ferocious affirmation of all peaceable and loving amplitude, sound a certainly unbounded heat from a baptismal smoke where, yes, there will be fire. And the babies cease alarm as mothers raising arms and heart high as the stars so far unseen, nevertheless hurl into the universe a moving force, irreversible as light years traveling to the open eye. And who will join this standing up, and the ones who stood without sweet company will sing and sing back into the mountains, and if necessary, even under the sea. We are the ones we have been waiting for. Now, please join me in singing our next hymn, number 112 in your gray hymnal, Do You Hear?
We are the ones we've been waiting for. It's as true today as it would have been if our elections on Tuesday had gone a different way. I will be honest, I was hoping this would be a celebratory, now let's get to work service instead of a what do we do now kind of one. And while either way the US elections went, we were faced with the tasks of moving our society forward and our world toward liberation. The job we have now as a people of faith, centered in love and commitment, committed to justice, is undoubtedly harder. And so I'm faced with helping us grapple with the realities of our present so that we might move together forward despite the fiercer headwinds that will soon be blowing us backward. Beloved, I'm scared. I'm anxious and tired and disappointed, if not surprised, at what has come to pass in this country. After the election results on Tuesday night became clear, my body did not stop shaking for almost 2 days. Perhaps I'm not alone in this. And so before we think about what comes next, we need to feel what we're feeling right now. I thank you for centering yourselves in your body, to taking a moment to tending the grief, the anxiety, the fear, and the anger that come with a nation having chosen cheap hatred and vitriol as its guiding force. We need to take a moment because our incoming leaders have promised us full-throated fascism, and that promise, my friends, must not be kept. They have promised to take the hard-won rights away from women and LGBTQIA+ people. They have promised to redefine our constitutionally guaranteed rights and begin the process of stripping even birthright citizenship from people deemed threats to their order. They have promised to rewrite the rule of law by pardoning violent insurrectionists and white supremacists. They have promised to gut funding for children with disabilities by eliminating the Department of Education. They have promised to destroy our economy with tariffs, to destroy our environment with deregulation, and to continue to enrich the unscrupulous billionaires whose pocketbooks are the only winners in such policies. In case you're not aware, I'm not pulling any punches this morning. Because we, those who claim the moral voice of a religion centered on love and committed to justice, we are the ones who must make sure that these promises are not kept. We are the ones we've been waiting for. That quote comes from that marvelous poem that June Jordan read to the United Nations in 1977. That poem that held up the women of South Africa, who in 1956 gathered some 40,000 people, women and children mostly, to place their bodies in the way of carrying out identity card laws as the apartheid era of South Africa was increasingly codified into law. That apartheid era hit its stride in 1948 when the National Party in South Africa started writing things that were practice in that country into law, to institutionalizing and codifying their racist agenda. South African Online History writes, "People often wonder why such a policy was introduced and why it had so much support. Various reasons can be given for apartheid, though they are closely linked. The main reasons lie in the ideas of racial superiority and fear. Across the world, racism is influenced by the idea that one race must be superior to another. Such ideas are found in all population groups. The other main reason for apartheid was fear. As in South Africa, the white people are in the minority. In other words, A minority government played on internalized racial superiority and the fears of the people to enact a cruel and unjust system, a system that would take another 50 years for resistance to dismantle. American theologian Walter Wink suggests that the movement to end apartheid was probably the largest grassroots eruption of diverse nonviolent strategies in a single struggle in human history. I am hoping that we do not have to summon a movement that puts that one to shame, but I am ready to do it if it's necessary. I tell you this story because I think it's necessary for us to look around the world, to our world community, to places where resistance to other forms of fascism have been successful, in order to learn the lessons from them. I look to Chile in the 1970s and 1980s, where people gathered. Sometimes underground, they insisted that they must be in community with one another to avoid isolation and loneliness, however possible. They read the work of political philosopher Hannah Arendt, who said that one of the necessary ingredients of totalitarianism is loneliness. She wrote it in German, where it's something like Verlassenheit, but it's loneliness. And so when it is that we are feeling alone, we must come together in community. We must know ourselves connected to one another. We must know ourselves connected to courageous ancestors who have gone before. We must know ourselves connected to the children who must live a future that we are creating now. We can and must resist fascism. We can and must resist the institutionalization of hatred, of transphobia, of misogyny, of racism. We can and must resist defining this nation by white supremacist ideals. We're no longer talking about the amorphous white supremacy culture, friends. We're talking about white supremacism. This isn't only about what we don't want to happen. It also has to be about what we do want to happen. It has to be about the ways in which we find to move our entire society towards liberation. And that was the part I was hoping we could focus on, laser-like in our determination to be better, to do better, to get everyone free. And the most disappointing part for me is that our liberatory agenda needs to share the stage with resistance. But it's not gone, beloveds. It's not gone. Resistance and liberation, fighting fascism and expanding freedom, that's our agenda, both of those things, and that's a lot. That's a whole lot. Just one of those things is more than enough. So while we are the ones we've been waiting for, we also need to remind ourselves that we don't have to do it all. No one of us, no group of us needs to do it all. So how do we decide where to go and what to do? How do we find our pathway, our individual pathway, our collective pathway through this? Some of us, to be sure, will be in survival mode. Some of us, perhaps those of us in this room, will be attacked directly. And we will need to do what we can to live. And the survival of our beloveds must be the first priority for all of those of us with a heart. We must summon the courage to help those of us who we love survive. Priority one. And yet there is more. Deepa Iyer, in her book Social Change, now published by our own Unitarian Universalist Association's Skinner House Books, writes about 10 roles that are necessary in creating social change. They are 10 roles that are also necessary in creating resistance to regression in our society. There are 10 roles that none of us needs to do all 10 of. There are frontline responders addressing community crises in the immediate moment. There are visionaries imagining what the possibilities might be for a new way of doing things tomorrow. There are builders, the people who organize and implement the ideas that have been decided on. There are caregivers, the people who sustain the community, who literally feed the community, who take care of the children and make sure that we survive together. There are disruptors, the people who take the uncomfortable and risky actions, the people who put their bodies in the way of the fascists. There are healers, the people who tend to the traumas that are caused by oppressive systems and the ways in which those traumas have been passed down among generations. There are storytellers, the people who share history and vision through art, who inspire us to be better with beauty. There are guides, those who we look to as teachers and counselors and advisors, those who hold the wisdom in our society. There are weavers, the people who make connections, the people who connect us to movements and people and ideas, who make things knit together. And there are experimenters, the people who innovate, invent, reflect, and course correct. There are 10 ways of making social change according to Deepa Iyer. There are 10 ways of resisting regression and fascism, and none of us needs to do all 10. In fact, if you've found yourself reflected in one of those things that I just said, maybe two, but let's go with one of those things that I just said. Hold on to that. That might be your calling in the coming years, friends. Here's what Deepa Iyer has to say. First, we need to get clear on what our values, skills, and strengths are. What are we called to do to use our skills and strengths in service to our values? Now, Unitarian Universalists have recently clarified what our values are, the values that we hold at the core of our faith. We've done that work of clarity, and boy, was that necessary to have done before this. Love, justice, equity, transformation, generosity, interdependence, and pluralism are the values that guide us. And all of them guide us toward the kind of society that we must continue to dream about. The kind of society we must tell each other stories about. The kind of society we must strategize toward. The kind of society we must risk our freedoms to create. The kind of society we must insist is possible even when it seems really hard. Iyer says once we've clarified things, we then need to make strong connections. Connections with each other and with those who share our values. We need to invest in social bonds, to become trustworthy to those who are in danger, to become friends to those who have similar callings. Iyer quotes the late social change scholar and community activist Grace Lee Boggs, who wrote, "We never know how our small activities will affect others through the invisible fabric of our connectedness. In this exquisitely connected world, it's never a question of critical mass. It's always about critical connections." Iyer counsels us that it is never too late to invest in those critical connections. To whom are you connected, beloved, in these walls and outside? What are the social connections that we can rely on to sustain us, to make those woven places stronger in our society? What are the movements that we are connecting to, the organizations that we are connecting to in our community and beyond? the movements that already exist. We don't need to invent them. We need to connect with them. What are they? Finally, Ayer tells us that we need to be aware of our own boundaries and barriers. She writes, when we recognize that we are playing too many roles, when you've taken on more than one or two of those 10 things, you need to check yourself. When we recognize that we are playing too many roles or become aware of the toll playing particular roles, we can make better choices and change our patterns. Perhaps you're called to that frontline work. That frontline work might wear you out. And when you notice that you are being worn out, you need to take a step back to the caregivers and be held in community care and maybe pick something else for a little while. Maybe you're called to visioning and storytelling, and you are putting beauty forth into this world, and you are narrating the vision of what can be, and that gets frustrating after a while as that vision does not come to pass. Well, when you notice that frustration building in you, it is okay to take a step back, to get your care, and to maybe try on a different role. We have to notice how these things sit in our bodies. We cannot let ourselves become disembodied in this work of justice. We have to notice how they sit. To do these roles, we must connect with people who are already doing them. Because we are not the only ones that we've been waiting for. We are not the ones that anyone else has been waiting for to start the work of resistance and liberation. All of us need all of us in this, beloved. And it needs to be an us that starts in this place, but does not end with these walls. Beloved, we are the ones we've been waiting for. May it be so. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join us in our next hymn, number 1028, in your teal hymnal, Fire of Commitment.
Thank you.
Each week, we make an offering from the bounty we are blessed to enjoy. We do this in the spirit of love and generosity, aware that we have benefited from those who have gone before, those that in their turn gave generously. Our offering goes to support the work of love and justice undertaken by this community. Today's offering will also be shared with, this November, we share the plate with the Holiday Gift Giving Program. In December, gifts, gift cards, sweatshirts, and socks will be given to residents of Hope Store, a domestic abuse shelter, and the men and women of Jan Peak Homeless Shelter in Peekskill. Terry and Bernie will do the shopping and delivery. You can make your donation in several ways. If present in the sanctuary, you may give cash or a check in the offering plate as it comes by. From your homes, you can make a donation via credit card or PayPal using the links provided in the e-newsletter or by visiting our website, uuchudsonvalley.org. Or if you prefer, you may always mail us a check. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. Please join me in the dedication of the offering. The words are in your order of service. May these gifts and the work of our hands and hearts give power to all we stand for as a community of faith. And now please join me in the extinguishing of the chalice. The words are also in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, and not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
In the service, the benediction are the good words that you are left with, the blessing that you need to carry you on your way. And I'm going to do something a little different this week. You are going to bless each other with song. You know, speaking in public does not make me nervous, but singing, that's a whole different thing. So we're gonna do a little Sweet Honey in the Rock together. There are 3 parts to this. And once we get the parts in rhythm, you can pick what part you want. You can make parts 4, 5, or 6. You can put it up an octave or down an octave or over to the left an octave. I don't care. But we're gonna try this together. Okay. So part 1, we're gonna start with these folks over here. It goes, we are the ones, we are the ones, we've been waiting. We are the ones, we are the ones, we've been waiting. Keep it going. We are the ones, we are the ones, we are the ones, we've been waiting. We are the ones, we are the ones, we've been waiting. Twice. We are the ones, we are the ones, we've been waiting. We are the ones, we are the ones, we've been waiting. 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 We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Rise and body